All right, what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. This is my first time doing a live stream on my YouTube channel. I thought it would be fun. Hopefully, it is. This is probably going to be kind of a lengthy video, I would imagine. This is the 2020 edition of Rolling Stone magazine's top 500 greatest albums of all time. And I mean, if that's not the most subjective thing in the world, I don't really know what is. Let me know in the chat if you're out there. Say hi so I know that people are seeing this and hearing this. Let me know if the audio is weird or the video is weird or whatever. I don't exactly know how to throw up the browser window on this screen and for me to talk about this stuff at the same time. Oh yeah, you're right. I did do a rush stream. Yeah, and I think that was an abysmal failure too, because I think I got just overall confused, which is pretty typical of me. Hello, Splotch the cat thing. Hello, Daniel. Hello, media guy. What's up, everybody? All 5 of you so far. I don't care if there's only 5 of you. It's like we're in a room together, and we're gonna do this thing. So yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. So do this, bam, here we go. I'm gonna start with number 1. Rolling Stone's pick of the greatest album. I like how my voice cracked just then. So their pick for the number 1 greatest album of all time is Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, released in 1971. Now, of course, this was a landmark album. It was one of the first kind of concept albums for a Motown artist. And yeah, I mean, it was really super, like, it crossed the lines, or it broke barriers in the sense that it was a political album. Those weren't like the most popular things in the world to do back then for a Motown artist, but Marvin Gaye had something to say with this album. That was kind of funny. Marvin Gaye had something to say in the month of, yeah, sorry. Anyway, yeah, this was a very important album. It talked a lot about, political unrest with the African American community and the police, and just, I mean, all kinds of stuff, really. What's Going On is basically a very peaceful protest song. Sounds peaceful anyway. Number 1 greatest album of all time, not in my book. Now, of course, I should preface all this by saying this is all my opinion, okay? So obviously it's going to be different than your opinion or your brother's opinion or your uncle that's 3 times removed opinion, but this is my opinion, okay? And I'm probably gonna have to say this a few times, but in Josh's 500 greatest albums of all time, this would not be anywhere near number 1. I know with kind of the state of the world right now and what's happening, it seems like, of course, they're going to make a pick like this. This is a very popular choice right now with everything that's going on with the protests and the Black Lives Matter movement. So it's almost like, I feel like they're in a position to where if they hadn't chose an album like this, then they would have gotten shit from people. You normally would expect to see a band like the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's, come in for the number 1 album. It's kind of become like super cool and hip now to like kind of hate on the Beatles and be like, yeah, well, they really weren't that great, or, I think people just get tired of seeing the same thing be number 1 for so long. For this list, they talked about in the beginning about how they, when they did their first top 500 albums of all time back in 2003, most top music listeners were in middle school, so they're basically talking about how tastes have changed and people's likes have changed, and they asked a lot of artists, popular artists like Taylor Swift and Adam Clayton of U2, just a bunch of random people in the industry to make their list of their top 50 albums, and then they just kind of compiled it from there. So basically a lot of factors went into how they kind of came upon their choices. I will say, though, that I was on vacation with my family a long time ago, and I went into the living room of the hotel or whatever, and my dad has headphones on, and he took his headphones off, and he goes, "Son, this is such an amazing album." And of course, he was listening to What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. He wasn't listening to Sgt. Pepper's by the Beatles. So if that album moved my dad to say that, then there's something there. Not the biggest fan of this type of music, the kind of disco-y R&B stylings. But man, if I hang on this too long, this video is gonna be forever. It's gonna take forever. So let's keep on going. Number 2, Pet Sounds by Beach Boys. This has been a very popular in the top. It's either the top album of all time by most magazines, or it's like the top 2. It never really slides out of that high up position. And I can get it. I can see why. It came out in 1966. Very old album. So of course there's that kind of like stand the test of time factor that it has going for it. Brian Wilson, the genius behind the Beach Boys, kind of utilized Phil Spector's wall of sound recording techniques and production to make a lot of the sounds on this album. I mean, we're talking like the recording rooms where you would normally have like a bass guitar, a guitar, a drum set, and some vocalists. This dude had like French horn players and basically like orchestras behind his songs. Brian Wilson said something to the effect that he wanted to make a miniature orchestra for teenagers. And, even the beginning song, Wouldn't It Be Nice, kind of starts out when the drums kick in with this really big symphonic sounding kind of thing. And of course, you can't talk about the Beach Boys without mentioning those harmonies, which are amazing. I mean, God Only Knows, the song that Carl Wilson did lead vocals on, the interlacing harmonies there, not to mention the weird like chord progressions that Brian Wilson liked to employ in the Beach Boys music. It was just really innovative at the time, and it was very innocent lyrically. I mean, if you listen to all the lyrics on this album that Brian wrote, it's basically almost sounds like a boy trying to understand the world as an adult and not doing a very good job, with songs like I guess I just wasn't made for these times, and Caroline No. Very innocent. I have no problem with this being so high up on the list, because the Beach Boys, especially when Brian Wilson was at the helm, were a very respectable group with a lot of talent. They definitely went downhill in the 70s after Brian left the group due to drugs. And that, I guess, is kind of a controversial statement to some people. Some people don't believe the Beach Boys went downhill in the 70s. I do. I feel like they went from this really innovative, unique thing to literally just ripping off 70s singer-songwriters like James Taylor and people like that. Their songs got really watered down. But when they first started out, the harmonies were undeniable, and Pet Sounds is really the pinnacle. Because then you had Smile, which got shelved for like 40 or 50 years, and that was a weird-ass album. Good Vibrations was the only good song that came off of that one. So moving on, I feel like this is probably going to not be one long stream. This is probably going to be broken up into a couple different things. Let me read some of your comments here. Cool, just like the Beatles when I was a kid, but I appreciate their music a lot now. Yeah, same for me. I didn't really like the Beatles that much growing up either, and now when I go back to their music, it's really like, oh wow, they were doing some really cool innovative stuff there, and I need to dig into them more. I love Sgt. Pepper, and I haven't really dug into the rest of their albums yet, but they really were kind of geniuses with like how ahead of their time they were with a lot of stuff they did. But I mean, I could say the same about early Genesis stuff, and no one will agree with me on that. You guys probably would if you're watching my channel. Daniel, love the Beatles, but they can get intensely overrated, especially when it comes to Rolling Stone. Yes, Rolling Stone loves to suck the wiener of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. In fact, Beatles were on the cover of Rolling Stone last issue, and they did a whole piece about, as if the Beatles couldn't get any more overexplored, Rolling Stone found yet another angle with their Get Back movie or album that was supposed to happen. John Evan Bear expected Abbey Road to be number one, considering how popular the Beatles are. Oh, don't worry, John, it's coming. It's. I think it's in the top 10. They will probably go with predictable picks first, then pick stuff out of a hat. You'll be surprised, Daniel, how high up some of these albums are that we're gonna get to. I know this is cliche, but I really like Surfing USA. Nothing wrong with that. It's a great song. All right, so in at number 3 we have Joni Mitchell, Blue. Now, I tried my best to listen to as much of this stuff as I could before doing this list, but this was kind of spur of the moment thing, so I wasn't able to listen to a lot of it, so I'm going to do the best I can. This album I did try to give a listen to. I know Joni Mitchell is a very well-respected folky singer-songwriter, especially of like the 60s and 70s. I listened to this album today, and I could not stand it. It's like every California hippie cliche, folk rock cliche of the time. Her voice, I don't particularly care for. It kind of gets on my damn nerves. It's kind of like, again, with the cliches, it's a very like cliche thing for these, very high-minded, lofty music critics to heap praise on Joni Mitchell. She's kind of like a national treasure. You're not ever allowed to say anything, negative about Joni Mitchell. But I just, I don't know, man. I was born in 1988. What the fuck do you want from me? I didn't grow up in a time during Vietnam. I didn't grow up at a time where like folk music reigned supreme on the radio. So Joni Mitchell doesn't mean a hell of a lot to me. And I didn't like this album at all. And, again, with the whole like time that we're in now, it doesn't surprise me that this album got as high as up on the list, because with the whole social consciousness and the wokeness and all that, and it's almost like they feel a need to make some kind of statement by having more variety in our top 10 besides the institutions that we've had for the last 20 years as being considered the top albums. Let's get a woman up there, let's get a variety. And it's like, that's fine, but if it's based on merit, not just based on some quota that you feel like you need to meet. And I kind of felt like that was like a little bit what was going on for it to get all the way up to number 3, of not even mentioning like Led Zeppelin or Elvis or some other groups that I'm surprised weren't higher on the list. Okay, moving on to pick number 4, we have, drumroll, Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life, released in 1976. Now, this is obviously a classic album. No one's going to deny that. Stevie Wonder, just fantastic musician. Went blind at a certain point in his life. Cool, the light on my one light, the battery on my one light just died. So now, well, I mean, you guys can't see, but whatever. This was just full of like, just great songs. Sir Duke, and you have Isn't She Lovely, Village Ghetto Land. This is a great album. I mean, again, if this was Josh's top 10 list, or top 10, Jesus Christ, top 500 list, that album wouldn't be number 4. I mean, definitely Stevie Wonder would be on there, but not that high up. Jesus Christ, this fucking battery died. Sorry, this is gonna bother me. I need to change this battery real quick. I will be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. But I mean, really though, isn't that like the great thing about like live, is that it's like just really live and super live and anything can happen? I mean, isn't that kind of like cool? Yeah, sorry, stalling for time right now, guys. But no, that's cool. I guess I get Stevie Wonder being in at number 4. I mean, I've already come to the conclusion that this list isn't going to be anywhere near what my list would be. And, these stupid lists are so subjective, and they pander to so many different people, and mainly the journalists and the, snobby music critic elites. So let me see we got here? Amen Brothers, a lot of Deftones lately. All right. Moving on to album number 5, The Beatles' Abbey Road. Now, this is obviously a much more predictable pick. You know, I've already kind of talked about the Beatles and how they were ahead of their time. I guess people have just gotten tired of, like, just saying that Sgt. Pepper's is, you know, number 1 all the time. So they're like, you know, let's go with a different Beatles album. So, you know, they picked Abbey Road, and I haven't listened to Abbey Road, so I can't really tell you one way or the other if that's, you know, justified. I mean, I know that Sgt. Pepper's was like a sonic masterpiece. I haven't listened to Abbey Road, so I can't comment on it. And now you get to see my face again. Moving right along, we go to number 6, Nevermind by Nirvana. Now, we're finally starting to get into territory where I actually like things that I can actually comment on. 1991's Nevermind by Nirvana. I mean, what can you say about this album that hasn't already been said? It literally was a wrecking ball to the careers of all the hair metal bands of the 1980s. It made all the silliness of the 80s look that much sillier. All the drum machines, all the synthesizers, even though I like all that stuff. I love synthesizers and drum machines when they're not used in a cheesy, you spin me right round kind of way. More like when they're used in a Depeche Mode kind of way. But nonetheless, you know, you had your bands like Kiss. You had your theatrical bands like Queen and Motley Crue and Poison, and they all had these big stage shows, and they were all trying to like outdo each other and see who could have like the best and craziest live show. And rock music was getting so over the top and so much reverb and so much process gated drums. And then MTV dropped Smells Like Teen Spirit, the music video on TV, and the song just blows people away. It's 3 guys who are dressed in street clothes. Like, they look like they just got off of work or they just got out of high school, and they just walk on stage. The least pretentious thing that we've seen in mainstream music in up until that point, ever since, like, you know, 60s era, you know, Bob Dylan or whatever. That just no pretentiousness, killer hooks. I mean, they put as much Kurt Cobain put as much time into writing his vocal melodies as the Beatles. I mean, you could strip back a Nirvana song and the melody would be just as compelling as any Beatles song. So, I mean, I totally agree that this album belongs right at number 6. I don't think it should be any higher than number 6 because that's a little, you know, it did change the sonic landscape and everything was different after that. But, you know, it's still fairly new, as crazy as that sounds. I mean, when you compare, you know, 1966 Beach Boys' Pet Sounds to 1991. But I think as time goes on, Nevermind might take a higher spot in this list. Now, I should say that Rolling Stones, another thing they said to preface this list is that basically, to cut a long story short, they're saying that rock is basically being etched out of you know, pop culture. They are saying there was less rock on this list. They are saying there was like 82 albums from this decade alone. You know, it's reflecting the ever-evolving taste of the young person, which obviously rock has no place for. And that, of course, makes me as an old man angry, or annoyed, I should say. But you know what? It's fine. Rock's going back to being underground again, so cool. We can all go back to, you know, living in the underground and not being represented in mainstream music whatsoever. Not in the way that hip-hop is, at least. Or pop music. Fucking Ariana Grande. All right, number 7, Fleetwood Mac, Rumors. Obviously, this was a landmark album. Now, I did not realize this about the album cover until someone pointed it out. Look at that pair of balls right there. I did not know. I did not realize that was there until it was pointed out. That's awful. That is awful. I was like, oh, this is kind of some kind of Shakespearean album cover, you know, like whatever. But someone pointed out to me the balls. I did not notice the balls. Like, what the hell is that? Yeah. Here's my problem with Rumors by Fleetwood Mac is that I feel like this album has been so abused by like doctors' offices and dentist offices and like pharmacies. Like, how many times have you like just been listening to the Muzak in like a CVS or a Walgreens and you just hear a song off of this album playing over the loudspeakers? It's just, this album reminds me of like waiting in the dentist's office, and I know that's like sacrilege to a lot of like hardcore Fleetwood Mac fans, but that's just been my experience with them. I can't listen to a song like Break the Chain or a song like Go Your Own Way without thinking of waiting in the dentist office before I hear Josh Cannon. Yeah, that's me. All right, I'm going back to see the dentist now. I know it might sound fucked up, but that's just kind of how I view this album. But I know they sold a gajillion records, and I can tell you this: being a karaoke DJ, Fleetwood Mac, that song, so here you go again, you say you want your freedom, whatever the name is, escaping me this time. So many chicks sing that song, so even to this day. So there you go. I mean, they did something right. All right, moving on to pick number 8, rather. Prince and the Revolution, Purple Rain. Yeah, I mean, I could see how this album could be this high. I mean, Prince had been around way before this album came out, but this was kind of the album that broke him as like the, you know, force that he is. I personally don't care for Prince's music all that much. His singing style is a little over the top for me. That whiny like, don't gotta be rich to be my girl. I don't care for that singing style that much. But yeah, I mean, I can understand the significance of it, so that's cool. People say I look like Prince, which I will never not hear for the rest of my life, I guess. I don't think I look like Prince. Do you guys think I look like Prince? I don't know. I respect the hell out of Prince as a musician. I do like some of his songs, but that's pretty much all I can say about him, because yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that album. Not that I've even listened to the whole thing, but the amount of people who sang Purple Rain and When Doves Cry at my karaoke gigs. I'm a karaoke DJ, by the way, if you guys didn't surmise that by now. Yeah, I just got kind of burnt out on those songs. All right, in at number 9, we have Bob Dylan, Blood on the Tracks. Of course, the Rolling Stone magazine would include a Bob Dylan record up in the top 10. It would be sacrilege for them as music, aficionados or music snobs to not include a Bob Dylan album in the top 10. I don't listen to Bob Dylan. Yet again, I'm not a huge Dylan fan. I think his, you talk about overrated. Like, I really do feel Bob Dylan is on the overrated side. I made a post today on my Facebook saying how, like, I just don't get Bruce Springsteen. Like, I don't get I don't get why his music is so, like, regarded highly, and like why he's considered such this legend. And I kind of feel the same about Bob Dylan. You have to consider my age, though. You know what I mean? I grew up I was born in 1988. I was a teenager during the emo era, which I didn't like emo music, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to take into context when I was alive. And I guess for a lot of older folks, Dylan was kind of like this voice of that generation with his, lyrics and his playing. I don't know. He's got a weird sounding voice to me. Moving on. This is going great. You guys having fun? I hope you are. Hope I'm not being too boring. Let me read the comments here. Careful, the Nevermind album cover has nudity, and there's a possibility that we'll get... Oh, yeah, demonetized. You're correct about that, Daniel. I guess we shall see if that happens or not. I like the non-single songs best out of Nevermind. Yeah, the song... I wish people would give Nevermind a listen and, don't pay so much attention to, like, Smells Like Teen Spirit or, like, Come As You Are. Like, listen to, like, Territorial Pissings or Lounge Act or... Drain You. Those are really great songs. Thank you, John. I feel better for you telling me I look the furthest from Prince. Okay, moving on. Number 10 of... Okay, guys. Number 10 of the greatest album... the 500 greatest albums of all time, according to Rolling Stone, is The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. What the fuck? Are you serious? Like, it's a good record, you know. Like, it's got its songs on there, but you're telling me that this record beats out Dark Side of the Moon, Thriller, fucking, like, Sgt. Pepper's. That's what I'm saying, man. This list is so politically correct. It's annoying. They're just trying to look more woke now because of everything that's going on, and it's so silly, man. Like, who are they afraid of? Like, if they're just honest about their picks, what are they afraid of? Some mob is gonna like beat down their doors at Rolling Stone and be like, this list wasn't diverse enough, and you didn't put, you know, people higher up on the list that should be up there. It's like, I mean, you know, this is a decent record, but man, like, it came out in fucking 1998. It came out like so recently, and they're gonna sit here and say this album beat out Sgt. Pepper's. Come on, man. There's a lot of wokeness to that decision. You gotta admit, that's a little silly. You know, Lauryn Hill used to sing for the Fugees. They were, you know, a very beloved band by a lot of people. And then she broke out on her own and released this album. And, I mean, she's talented as hell, don't get me wrong. But, like, number 10, kiss my ass, number 10. No fucking way. And by the way, her biggest song that everyone loves, like Killing Me Softly, that was on a Fugees record, by the way. That's not Lauryn Hill's solo stuff. Like, I mean, her biggest single, I think, on her as her solo career was the Girl, You Know You Better Watch Out, Some Guys You... Anyway, I'm not going to try to sing that shit, but anyway. So, yeah, highly disagree with that choice. Rolling Stone, man, they're so woke. Moving on to number 11, the Beatles. And now, this is kind of the opposite problem. This is them just being like, as someone said in the chat earlier, just sucking on the Beatles' dicks. I'm just going to go out and say it. Everything the Beatles did was great. You know, I don't know. I think there's room for other, like, artists here that did great works besides the Beatles. Revolver, another album I haven't listened to. I'm sure it's fantastic. Whatever. Let me read the comments here. Never heard of Lauryn Hill until now. How did they not? I know. How did they not put Thriller in the top 10? You know why? Because all the controversy surrounding Michael Jackson with the Leaving Neverland documentary. That's exactly why Michael Jackson isn't higher up on the list. He would have been if Leaving Neverland or Surviving Neverland or whatever the hell with James Safechuck and Wade Robson. If that documentary had never come out, then Jackson would have been much higher on the list. That documentary, by the way, has been discredited by a lot of people. But, you know, Rolling Stone being as woke as they are, they, as soon as somebody alleges something, they're just going to believe it no matter what the facts say, you know, because they want so badly to be, you know, seen as being on the right side of history, even if it's complete bullshit. I'm not saying one way or the other, like, about Michael Jackson, whether he did or didn't, because at the end of the day, no one fucking knows. I mean, Michael Jackson was so rich that there's so much financial motivation for people to lie about what Mike did or didn't do to them. So it's so hard to say. Anyway, I'm not trying to get off on a whole thing about Michael Jackson here. Moving right along. Oh, would you look at that? Speak of the devil. In at number 12, we have Michael Jackson's Thriller. I mean, do I even really need to say anything about this album? I do like what they kind of wrote here. They said Michael Jackson towered over the 80s the way no superstar before or since has dominated an era, not even Elvis or the Beatles, and Thriller is the reason why. Still in his early 20s, that makes me feel bad about myself. The R&B child star of the 1970s had ripened into a technicolor soul man, a singer, dancer, and songwriter with incomparable crossover instincts. That's very true. I mean, Michael Jackson was the kind of guy that wanted something for everybody with his albums. You know, he wanted a rock song with Beat It, and what a great rock song that was. He wanted, you know, dance songs like, you know, PYT. To this day, PYT is such a great song to open up with at a party on some dance floor or whatever. You know, theatrical songs like Thriller and the Girl Is Mine, where you had a fucking Beatle on the song with Paul McCartney, who Michael Jackson later bought all the rights to his music. But, you know, anyway, that kind of soured that friendship a little bit. No, Michael Jackson, man, I didn't grow up in like prime Michael Jackson time, so I can't like say the full force, but I did get a little bit of it growing up in the 90s. Like, Michael Jackson was a really big deal, and we've never seen a star like that since. Like, we have never, and probably will never have someone as larger than life as Michael Jackson. It's like, you know, people always like to bring his race into it. Well, you know, like well, he was black and then he became a white guy, and it was this big controversy, and Michael Jackson had vitiligo, so I mean that's why his skin got that way or whatever. But to me, it's like you have all the races of the world, all the genders of the world, like right here, and then up here you have Michael Jackson. He's just like this alien. He transcends humanity in some way. If you don't believe me, watch Michael Jackson live in Bucharest, and you will see just how big Michael Jackson was. And that was 1993. That was when his career was waning a little bit. Anyway, let's move on. Let me read the comments here. Revolver is my favorite Beatles album. I should check that one out then, I guess. I do like Rubber Soul. I gave Rubber Soul a listen, Corey, back in the day, and I don't think I could get into it. Eric Tobin, I'm 41 and Pearl Jam's 10 should have been in the top 10 in my opinion. The way I see it, Michael is dead and no longer here to defend himself, so I see it's a pointless conversation now. Yeah, dude, if I had my own top 500 albums, there'd be a lot more 90s alternative stuff. But I mean, is that any real surprise? I'm 32, you know what I mean? Like, that was my jams growing up. So anyway, we get to number 13, Aretha Franklin. I never loved a man the way I love you. Aretha Franklin has been around for a long time. She's paid her dues. She was one of the originals. You know, she was out there doing her thing back when black people were definitely not as welcome in this country as they are now. And the racism and the, you know, barriers. And, you know, I know some of you might be thinking all that stuff still exists. But, dude, it was a hell of a lot worse in the 60s. I would not have wanted to be in her position back then. I'm sure it was very difficult. She's one of the classics. She's one of the greats, you know. It's not my kind of music by any means. And, you know, you know, she did the big song off this album was Respect, which is her best known song. It's just not my kind of music, but she's, you know, she stood the test of time. And what can you say? She's a classic. Gotta have Aretha Franklin in the top 20, even if it's not my cup of tea. Someone, you know, I hear some of you out there going, fuck your cup of tea. That's fine. You can fuck my cup of tea. Okay, in at number 14. Wow, the first Rolling Stones entry on this list. That's crazy that they haven't been in there earlier. So yeah, we have Rolling Stones' Exile on Main Street. You know, I don't fucking like the Rolling Stones. I never have. I don't get them, really. Again, I keep saying it, you have to consider the time that I grew up in. I grew up in a time where my first being exposed to rock music was like, you know, 80s heavy metal and 90s alternative rock. So that was my reference point for what rock was. And when I heard Rolling Stones, after hearing that, it was like, I'm like, where'd all the distortion go? Why is he... Mick Jagger's voice I never liked, by the way. Like, John Lennon and Paul McCartney had great voices. Like, in their harmonizations and all that, they sounded great. But I never liked Mick Jagger's voice. He sounds like a street urchin every time I listen to him sing. I almost smell his unwashed self through his songs. And Exile on Main Street, I just could give two shits nor a fuck about. So I'm going to... Why don't you tell us how you really feel about it, Josh? All right, moving on to number 15, Public Enemy, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. Now, this is another album that I can't help but to think made the top 20 of the 500 greatest albums of all time, literally due to the fact of, like, what's going on right now, and it just seems relevant and timely with the riots and all that other kind of stuff. You know, I was actually trying to listen to this album before I started this. Yeah, I mean, as you can see right here from my Spotify. I haven't really been able to listen to it, so I'm going to reserve judgment. I like I said, I do feel like this album is in the place it's at solely because of the time that we're living in right now, which I think is a stupid reason to put any album in any place. Because, you know, Public Enemy, even though they had their really good, you know, political lyrics that were, you know, kind of the first bits of conscious rap, kind of like at the end of the day, to me, like, they're an old school hip hop band, and the music of old school hip hop does not stand up. It sounds very, I don't know, just dated. You hear an old school like hip hop track, and some of it stands the test of time better than others. I feel like Run DMC would have been a much more logical choice for number 15 than Public Enemy. Run DMC to me has had a sound that has stood the test of time better than Public Enemy. I mean, your average person out there, if I'm at a gig playing music, okay, if I play Tricky by Run DMC, or, you know, Christmas in Hollis, or, you know, Walk This Way, everyone's going to recognize it and be into it. If I play a Public Enemy song, what song am I going to play? Fight the Power? Bring the Noise? People either aren't going to recognize those songs or not going to really care about them. Lyrically, you know, I guess you could make the argument that they were more relevant than Run DMC, but it's not just about lyrics. It's about people's enjoyment of the music, right? I mean, isn't that supposed to be, like, what's important? Anyway, let me move on here. Number 16, Clash, London Calling. You know, this is one of those records that is just, like, always going to be in, like, a top 20 or top 30 of any, like, top 100, top 300, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, this is no surprise to me. It did sound, even to this day, I feel like it sounds very raw and vibrant, and exciting. So, I mean, you know. What a great picture, though, for the cover art, let me just say. I mean, the photographer caught that at, like, the perfect time, right before the dude smashed his bass guitar. The font, though, is hideous. Like, that font, it's become legendary now because it's a popular album, but Jesus Christ. If I was in the art department for The Clash, I would have been like, the picture's amazing. Can we, like, dial down that ugly pink and green and whatever? It's almost as bad as, like, Comic Sans. Let's get a closer look at that. It's hideous. But yeah, I haven't listened to this record all the way through. Probably not a big surprise to many of you. I feel so unwoke right now. Let me read these comments here. Yeah, let me read these comments. I think my first reference to rock was classic rock, like Pink Floyd and the Doors. Yeah, Pink Floyd was a big first reference for me. And even though they weren't rocking as hard as that, you know, 90s and 80s stuff that I was talking about, Pink Floyd they were like on another planet, and they just transported me there, and it was amazing. The Mick Jagger comments. Can't believe we haven't seen Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, or Whitney Houston yet. Yeah, I know, man. Welcome to Rolling Stone in 2020. This magazine sucks now, by the way. They have gotten so unapologetically liberal and far left. And I'm not saying that I'm, like, not liberal. I'm not saying that I'm Republican. I'm just an independent thinker. And being independent, you can see just how, like, tainted news articles and magazines and once you just start thinking for yourself, you see how politically like bent they are. Just like when you watch Fox News, it's clearly like Republican tainted. Rolling Stone is so far left, it's not even funny, and it's just like, I don't know. It's really annoying. And I feel like that's a lot of reasons why this list is the way it is. All right, let's keep going with the comments here. Blah, 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 blah. Rolling Stone ripped Zeppelin's first 4 albums back in the day. I don't know about that. Punk classic, preferably prefer blah, 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 blah. Clash are boring. I should listen to them. I don't know. Posers say they like the Clash. Okay, Pink Floyd fascinated me when I was young because their music sounds so mysterious to me. Exactly. Yeah, their music was very mysterious sounding. Loved it. Okay, let's go on here. Oh, in at number 17, Kanye West, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Guys, a Kanye West album made it into the top 20 of the 500 greatest albums of all time. And you know what? This is going to shock a lot of you. I don't hate this choice. I really like Kanye West. Kanye West is kind of like Guns N' Roses to me. If you can get over Axl Rose being an asshole and an egotistical douche, their music is decent. I don't really like Guns N' Roses, but I feel like that's kind of what you have to do to get into Guns N' Roses. You have to get over how much of an asshole Axl Rose is. If you can get over Kanye West's personality and who he is, and if you listen to his production skills and just his style, to me, Yeezus was a way better album than My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. But this is also a great record. He had features on there like Justin Vernon of Bon Iver. He had Elton John playing piano on that track All of the Lights, which is a great song. He sampled a King Crimson song, 21st Century Schizoid Man. He did a lot of really interesting stuff. Top 17 greatest album of all time over Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon? Fuck no. See, that's a problem with these lists, is to agree that this should be number 17 is to say that this album is better than Dark Side of the Moon or any Led Zeppelin album. Again, this is a great album, but the whole woke thing of what we're going through now is the only reason this album is as high as it is, because you're just ignoring. This came out in 2010. This album is 10 years old. This is just fucking funny to me. But yeah, no, he did sample Aphex Twin, which was interesting. I definitely do like the Aphex Twin song better. I don't know, they're both good songs. I'm not gonna get into that pissing match. Let's just move on. 18, Bob Dylan, Highway 61 Revisited. Guys, I got nothing to say about Bob Dylan that I haven't already said. I haven't listened to this album. I know it's a classic. Like a Rolling Stone. I guess that's where this magazine got its name from or whatever. This list is insanely stupid. I can definitely see how you would say that. Okay, there's getting a lot of comments here. It's getting harder for me to keep up. Kanye is a good musician, but a total douche nozzle. That's right. But if you can get past the douche nozzliness, then I'm telling you, Yeezus is a really great album. Really great production. Hi, Josh. I'm 61. My faves were Pink Floyd, Spade, David Bowie, Elton John, and Queen. All boring to you younger guys, I'm guessing. No, not at all, dude. I love Queen. I love Elton John. Don't downplay me because I'm younger. That's ageist, and I'm offended. I need to go find a safe space now and cry. So, all right, here we go. Don't care about Bob Dylan. I'm sorry, guys. You have to take into context the year I was born, 1988. Okay, so now another controversial pick, Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly. Let me tell you. Let me look you straight in the eye. Let me look you square in the eye. This is a goddamn classic album, okay? I don't know how you feel about K-Dot. I don't know if you like rap or you hate rap. To Pimp a Butterfly is a classic album, and it deserves to be. I'll just say this: if I had a Josh's top 500 albums of all time, To Pimp a Butterfly would be in my top 20. I mean, it's just a masterpiece concept album. It's a whole story woven together. There's no silly skits unlike a lot of rap albums. It's very serious in tone. The way that it looks at race and relationships and drug abuse and everything else. To Pimp a Butterfly is just it's an amazing record. It really is. So I'm not going to disagree with that. I can't disagree with that pick. All right, let's move right along here. Oh, I saw a comment. Elton John is amazing. Every damn album. I have got to disagree with you there, sir. Every Elton John, there was a lot of really bad Elton John albums in the 80s. Elton John even admitted A Single Man, I think he said was his worst album he did. A lot of people don't realize this about Elton John, but he has 40 albums. That might be a little exaggerating. He's got a shit ton of albums. And a lot of those 80s ones were not good. But he did come back in the 90s with some strong ones. And he's had a pretty strong career ever since. But it was really the cocaine that fucked him up. In at number 20, Radiohead's Kid A. Yes, absolutely. Totally agree. I can't speak on much when it comes to, a lot of the stuff on these lists. But I can definitely agree that just let Elton into your heart. That's funny. Yeah, Leather Jackets was another one that he hated. But yeah, no, Kid A is amazing. After Radiohead came off of their OK Computer album in 1997, they basically had free reign to do whatever they wanted to do because that album did incredibly well, sold a lot of records, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people were thinking, per this article here too, is saying a lot of people were expecting Radiohead to go into a U2 direction and become this big arena rock band, stadium rock band. But instead they went the opposite way. Tom York started listening to a bunch of Aphex Twin records and a bunch of records off of the Warped label, which is what Aphex Twin was signed to. And he got really into electronic sound manipulation. And if you've ever heard an Aphex Twin record, then you know what I mean by that. I mean, their albums are just insane with the audio stuff that they got going on. Jeez, live streams are difficult because I'm all sweaty and yeah, that's gross. And that made it into the Final Cut too, so you have to deal with that. That's something I normally would have edited out if this was one of my normal videos, but it's not. Yeah, it's controversial that they put Kid A above OK Computer, though. But I think OK Computer is becoming one of these institutions that critics they're kind of getting tired of sucking the dick of Kid A, or OK Computer, I'm sorry. They're getting tired of OK Computer constantly being in the top. So I think they're starting to kind of re-examine Radiohead's kind of catalog and, maybe to them Kid A is in this moment it's more worthy. I don't fucking know. Anyway, in at number 21 we have Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run. I made a big stink about this today on my Facebook page. I don't fucking understand Bruce Springsteen. I don't know why people like him. I don't see the appeal of his music. I don't get it. Now, I will say this album was released in 1975. That is ahead of its time for that sound. When I was listening to this album today to try to understand the whole Bruce Springsteen phenomenon, I was finding myself hearing a lot of Arcade Fire in the sense that I feel like Arcade Fire took a lot from Bruce Springsteen, and Arcade Fire is one of my newer favorite bands or whatever. So I guess that's good that he was able to influence bands I actually like. But all of Bruce Springsteen's songs sound like this giant buildup. It's like, baby, we were born to run. And like all of his songs just have this like, just overly dramatic, like, I got my baby in my arms and our backs against the wind, 'cause we don't care, we're on Thunder Road. It's like, God, shut up with the over dramatic, like, we're poor, but we're making the best of things. I hate it when country artists do this a lot. They try to sing about shit that is not relevant to them anymore. You're not living on a farm and poor anymore. Stop acting like you still currently are. It's fine to sing about when you were poor and living on a farm, but you're not anymore. You're rich. Stop acting like you're a good old boy who drives your fucking pickup truck and, you know, slings bales of hay around. Like, Bruce Springsteen gives me that vibe. Hardcore. Fuck him. Just kidding. I didn't got nothing against Springsteen as a person. I just don't like his music. Up next, 22, we got Notorious B.I.G. Ready to Die. You know, big fucking surprise. You're going to have a Tupac and a Notorious B.I.G. record up in here somewhere. They were cut down in the prime of their career. That tends to, you know, that tends to make people revere you more if you die when you're on top of your game. That happened to both Tupac and Notorious B.I.G. I was always a much bigger Tupac fan than I was Notorious B.I.G. You know, I think Notorious B.I.G. had more clever bars, but I think I liked the tone of his voice better and his energy. Notorious B.I.G., whenever I listened to his music, I just didn't like the tone of his voice. Because he was like so overweight, it sounded like he was out of breath a lot of times when he was delivering his verses. And that just, it's kind of like one of those things, like the whole time I'm listening to him, I'm just like, breathe, dude, just take like a deep breath in or have like an oxygen mask or something. He just sounds like out of breath. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. And I swear to God, I'm not trying to be mean right now. Like, that's just how it sounds to me. Tupac had this like bombastic energy. I can understand why Tupac isn't anywhere near the position that Biggie is. I'm taking a further look ahead here. And I think Tupac had a lot more kind of misogynistic tones to him than, I mean, they both did, but I think Tupac had a lot more that kind of energy that Rolling Stone wants to avoid. That violent energy. Biggie was more smooth. He was more, you know, sleek. I don't know. Let me read these comments here for a little bit. Check. Alright, what? Shit. That sucks. Alright. Chill out. Back, check. Alright. We probably just went way down in audio quality, but I had to... Can you guys hear me now? Okay, I guess you can. Yeah, my audio probably sounds like shit now. I had to start using the webcam audio over this nice microphone, so my audio probably sounds bad now, or worse than it did. But if you guys don't care, then I don't care. Sweet. Way down, but not out. Yeah. Yeah, if you're experiencing, if you hear any problems or anything, just let me know, and I'll hopefully be able to correct it. Anyway, let's go back to this stupid list here. I'm probably will not get through this whole thing, but any hoozles. Yeah, so I've been seeing this neon banana every time I walk into record stores ever since I was a teenager, and you know, it's again the music critics. They love the Velvet Underground. You want to talk about hipster? Hipsters are all about the Velvet Underground, the hardcore music elites. If you don't know about the Velvet Underground, then you can just get the fuck out of their loft and, you know, put down their craft beer. I have nothing to say about this album. I don't know if this is up my alley or not. I heard the "Say Goodnight" or whatever by Nico. We'll never have to see the world again, so if we close the door, something's... Anyway, because REM used to play that at the end of their shows. So yeah, I don't know. Let's move on. Oh, here we go, finally. The thing that we expect to see on a top 500 list, the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. You know, this album came out in 1967. So ahead of its time for 1967. If you go back and listen to this album and just like really listen to it, like the production, just everything, the songwriting, A Day in the Life. I mean, that is such a great song. I didn't appreciate this album growing up because this was like my mom's favorite band. It was like one of those situations where like you didn't want to like the same band as your parents. And so I kind of rejected it for a while, but that was stupid because it's a great album and definitely deserves your undivided attention. So if you haven't listened to this album yet, then you should. And I feel kind of like a douche for, you know, just snubbing it for so long. Oh, yes. This is another album that I always see in these top 100 lists is Carole King, Tapestry. I feel like this is not an album meant for me. Like, I feel like this was an album that was good for a certain time and place in America. I feel like this album is very early 70s, very early singer-songwriter-y, kind of could fit in the same category with the Joni Mitchells and with the James Taylors. This literally looks like some chick that would live in the Riverside Arts District of my town with her cat and her, you know, old school colonial house that she's living in. Like, she, like, straight up looks like some chick that would be in Riverside right now, sans tattoos and different colored hair. So yeah, anyone know anything about this album? I don't. Trapped better be on here. That'd be fucking hilarious. Acid should be credited as the fifth Beatle on this album. It's hilarious. Yeah, alright, moving on. No one has anything to say about Carole King? Patti Smith, Horses. From its defiant line, Jesus died for somebody's sins but not mine, the opening shot and a bold reinvention of Van Morrison's garage rock classic Gloria, Patti Smith's debut album was a declaration of mutiny, a statement of faith in the transfigurative powers of rock and roll. Horses made her the queen of punk, but Smith cared more for her poetry and rock. She sought the visions and passions that connected Keith Richards and Ramboud and found them with the intuitive assistance of a killer band and her friend Robert Mapplethorpe, who shot the cover portrait. The real thing, Smith later said, was to keep rock and roll in the hands of the people. Yeah, Patti Smith is one of those chicks who's like revered as, you know, one of the pioneers of like punk rock music. I just have to look at something real quick if I can. I think it was Patti Smith who had this as one of her songs. Let me see. Where is it at? Where is it at? See, these older artists on Spotify, they have like a million reissues, so you have to like really look to find it. I just gotta show you guys something about Patti Smith that just never gets brought up. Where is it at? Let me see if I can just search for it here. Oh, would you look at that? Would you look at that title? I don't. How can Rolling Stone be so woke yet so you know, like not woke at the same time? Like, how are you gonna like look past that, man? I mean, I'm sure there's some double entendre about like how that's artsy or how that makes sense, but like, it's just so funny how that never gets mentioned, you know? Liberal Rolling Stone won't talk about Patti Smith and how she has a song with that title in it. I don't know. I'm not trying to start anything here. I just thought that's a funny little hypocrisy. Speaking of which, John Lennon has a song that a lot of people don't really like to talk about on his solo career. Do you want to take a look at this? Look at that. That's... Thanks, I just got grounded. Yeah, that's, no one talks about those songs, though. I don't know. I'm sorry if I just blew anyone's mind just then, but, yeah. I thought that was kind of a funny little thing there that no one likes to point out. Double standards, that's what I call it. Anyway, moving on, number 27, Wu-Tang Clan, Enter the Wu-Tang. Now, I feel like Wu-Tang Clan is a band or a rap group that has definitely gotten a lot more hyped up in like the 2000s. I think as people got older, they kind of, you know, realized that the Wu-Tang Clan was more of an influence on their favorite rappers than what they thought. And then I think Macklemore dropped a Wu-Tang Clan reference in one of his songs. And now it seems like everyone and their brother loved Wu-Tang Clan all along. And I just don't think that that's the case. I think this band is a little, or this rap group's like a little overhyped right now in this current period of time. And I don't know. I've listened to their music and I just don't really see what all the fuss is about. I'm not like the biggest fan in the world. Yeah, I know. The John Lennon song. Yeah. Listen to it. It's not a good song either. I mean, at least if it was a good song, you'd be like, well, it's like an awful song title, but at least it's a good song. Not even a good song. Well, I gotta grab a drink real quick. I will be right back. 2 seconds. Good Lord, yeah, if I'm going to be doing this long-ass live stream, I at least got to get refreshed with a nice Coke Zero. In at number 28, released in the year 2000, we have D'Angelo's Voodoo. Why? I don't know. Now, you have to consider at this point that we have D'Angelo, we have Carole King, Patti Smith, Public Enemy, Kendrick Lamar, all better than Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, I don't know, fucking Talking Heads. Just consider that. Rolling Stone is fucking garbage. D'Angelo is better than Dark Side of the Moon. Are you out of your mind? How much more hypocritically woke can you get? You put Patti Smith up at 26, who has a song called Rock and Roll N-Word, and you can't even put Pink Floyd. I don't understand the logic of this fucking magazine, dude. I don't. And I don't understand how cancel culture only works for certain artists that the left doesn't like. And look, when I say the left, I'm not fucking Republican, man. I'm just think for myself. I don't know anything about this album. The only thing I remember about D'Angelo is he has a song called How Does It Feel or something, and he's like naked. And I remember my mom saw the music video when I was a kid, and she's like, this is how a man's supposed to be shaped. It was disturbing. I just completely disagree with that pick. Good Lord. In at number 29, of course, we have to get in all the Beatles' whole discography, of course. Would not be a proper Rolling Stone top 500 unless all the Beatles' discography was in the first 50 picks. White Album was a double album. It had a lot of their bigger songs on there. Whatever. You know, I haven't gotten into the Beatles. I will say, for an album being released in 1968, that album cover looks very timeless. Like, that looks like something that could be released today. But, I mean, I guess with a white background and, like, you know, 2 words, how can you really fuck that up and make it look dated? Just the font, though, I don't know. It looks like, you know, it'd be an Apple product or something. Moving on. Oh, yeah, Jimi Hendrix. God, I forgot all about him. Yeah, he's kind of legendary. He should have been, like, way higher up on the list. Before people start calling me, like, you know, whatever. Like, oh, you're racist because you think that, you know, Kendrick or Kanye and D'Angelo shouldn't be as high up on the list. No. Actually, I just don't think their music's as classic as, I don't know, someone like fucking Jimi Hendrix. The guy who, like, pretty much influenced every guitar player that came about in the 70s and 80s and 90s, and even today, and he's number 30. Oh, but D'Angelo, guys, remember, D'Angelo's better than Jimi Hendrix. This guy right here, way better than Jimi Hendrix. Oh, God, I'm getting really pissed off now. My God. I mean, look, I understand the significance and the importance of Jimi Hendrix, and yes, his playing was like super ahead of its time, but you know, again, the context of when I was born. You know, I was born in 1988, so it just doesn't do it for me as much as some of the other stuff. But yeah, I don't know why you need to see my face for me to say that. All right, moving in, number 31, Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. Miles Davis, very instrumental trumpet player. He influenced a lot of people. His album Bitches Brew is in a lot of people's top 10 of all time. I don't listen to Miles Davis. I haven't really listened to Miles Davis. I don't really like jazz all that much. But, you know, good for him. Are you fucking kidding me? Beyonce's 2016 album Lemonade is number 32. What the fuck, man? What is this list? Number 32, Lemonade by Beyonce? What hits did she even have off that album? I mean, even for a Beyonce album, that's, like, crazy. Like, I would have put, like, I Am Sasha Fierce on there. What other fucking albums does she have? I'm not a huge Beyonce fan, which comes as a surprise to nobody. What did they say about this shit? 9 times out of 10, I'm in my feelings, Beyonce announced on her heartbreak masterpiece Lemonade. She dropped the album as a Saturday night surprise, knocking the world sideways. Her most expansive and personal statement, tapping into a marital breakdown and the state of the nation. It was a different side than she'd shown before, raging over infidelity and jealousy, but revealing in the militant feminist funk strut of formation. Oh, okay, yeah, that's the key word right there, feminist. That's why it's as high up on this list, because Rolling Stone is so fucking woke, bro. Yep, Beyonce Lemonade's better than Queen, Pink Floyd, Genesis, AC/DC, and Led Zeppelin, and Metallica. Yes, you are correct. It is better than all of that. And fuck us if we have any different opinion, because that automatically means we hate women. Number 33, Amy Winehouse, Back to Black. Just based on the amount of chicks who sing her goddamn song
Valerie at my karaoke gigs. I guess I'll agree with that for her being like innovative and, you know, well, I mean, she wasn't really innovative. She just kind of ripped off the 60s. Like that whole kind of, you know, doo-wop shit, but she just modernized it, I guess. I don't know. A lot of women that I know like Amy Winehouse, but I don't care for her. That song Back to Black was good. But again, like my big problem with like all this is not that like I have a huge problem with these artists or these albums. It's the artists that they are on top of that pisses me off. Amy Winehouse is on top of Pink. We've yet to get a Pink Floyd. We've yet to get a Led Zeppelin. We've yet to get. I mean, when they said at the beginning of this list that they're like snubbing rock music as a genre, they weren't fucking joking, man. Like, I mean, they didn't go right out and say they were snubbing rock as a genre, but I mean, you might as well have said it because, I mean, from this list, that's exactly what you're doing. All right, moving along. What disappointment do they have in 34? Huh, Stevie Wonder in Inner Visions, 1973. This was the album where he had Higher Ground on, which was like a really big song for him. Living for the City. I'm not going to argue with any Stevie Wonder placement on this list because Stevie Wonder is like super talented and just an amazing artist. So, you know, good for him. So, up next we have... Oh, the Beatles, Rubber Soul. Like I said, we got to get in the entirety of the Beatles catalog as soon as possible because it is Rolling Stone that we're talking about here. And, you know, according to Corey, who is watching right now, I think this is an album that he likes. So it must be good. I don't know. I tried listening to it and just couldn't get into it. Number 36, Michael Jackson, Off the Wall. Great disco record. Still got some great jams on there today that I play at weddings sometimes. Don't Stop Till You Get Enough is a great song. Off the Wall is a great song. Rock With You is a great song. She's Out of My Life. At the end of the song, you can hear Michael Jackson break down and cry in the studio. Apparently, according to this. I didn't know that. Jesus. Yeah, this was his big kind of solo debut. That album cover is awful, though. Look at that. Like, I could have done that album cover easily. And, like, charged a lot of money. Because it's, I mean, if this was the 70s, I guess. What a fucking awful album cover. Jesus Christ. Anyway. Moving right along. Oh, shit. Number 37, Dr. Dre the Chronic. I think a lot of millennials would agree with that. Everyone loves them. If you are at age, like, I don't know, let's say if you're age, like, 29 to, like, 40, you have some, like, nostalgic feelings towards G-Funk style West Coast rap of the early 90s. And The Chronic by Dr. Dre was, like, one of the crowning kind of albums of that genre and that style of music. Yeah, you just had like a lot of classic songs on here. We kind of probably wasn't the beginning of skits and rap albums, but there are definitely a lot of those on here, probably to some people's dismay, but I don't know. Sometimes they're entertaining. As long as the skits are separate than the actual songs, there's nothing worse than when a rapper will do a skit at the end of their song and attach it to the actual song. So like when you're playing the song in a club, like the stupid skit comes on because it's attached to the track. If you're going to do a skit and rap music, make it separate than the actual song. But yeah, no, great album. Fine. 37. Makes sense. It was a pioneering rap album. I think I would have put NWA before The Chronic though, because Fuck the Police, that was like a huge innovative song for the time. So alright, moving up. Bob Dylan, Blonde on Blonde. Don't Care. In at number 39. Talking Heads, Remain in Light. Yeah, this was definitely a This was a breakthrough album for them. I believe this was this the album that had yeah, this was the album that had Once in a Lifetime on it. Great song. I'm not the biggest Talking Heads fan. I do like the Talking Heads, just not the biggest fan. This is a cool album cover too, kind of creepy looking. It's like they took these professionally done, portraits of themselves or pictures rather, and they put this weird kind of Microsoft Painty like thing over their faces. Really cool. I don't know. I just really like, and then it's cool like the font and all that. I'm also admiring the album covers here, people. I hope that's all right with you. All right, moving on to number 40, David Bowie, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. Finally, we get like some of the shit that's like classic, I mean, I'm not a David Bowie fan, I'm not, but I will not ever deny the impact of his influence. I mean, I think David Bowie's one of the older artists out there who are still relevant with like younger people. I mean, honestly, like a lot of the younger people that I know, like it's like David Bowie. I'll put it this way: David Bowie is just as hip today as he was as he's ever been, and that's really saying something. If you as an artist can have that kind of validity for that length of time. Of course, he had the track Ziggy Stardust off this album, which is a pretty big one that still gets played today. 41, Rolling Stones, Let It Bleed. I don't like the Rolling Stones, don't care about the Rolling Stones. I do think this is an interesting album cover, and the name of the album cover, I don't really get it. I can't really see here. Was this a cake with a bicycle tire and like a film canister and a record? Interesting name for your album and cover. Moving right along. You guys still awake over there? Is everyone all right? You guys feeling all right? You look kind of sick. I'm not gonna lie. All right. Next we have 42. Radiohead's OK Computer. Surprised that it got this low on the list. I want to know the people who were in charge of making this goddamn list, because that is awfully low for this album. I mean, if Nirvana's Nevermind really rocked the world in the early 90s, this album rocked the world in the late 90s, because when it came out, it was just so like singular in its sound. There was nothing that sounded quite like this album, and it was just super innovative. And I mean, every song on this album is pretty much a classic to me. Like I said, there's some that I like more than others. But yeah, I mean, it'd probably be in my top 10, to be honest. This is an amazing album. Read the comments here. I cried when I found out Neil Peart and Eddie Van Halen died. Those deaths hurt a lot. Yeah, Neil Peart definitely hurt a lot. I've never been the biggest Van Halen fan, but it still sucks to lose one of our legends, and it feels like he was relatively young too. It really sucks. Yes, OK Computer is in fact a masterpiece. Moving on, category, or why do I keep wanting to say fucking category? To number 43, A Tribe Called Quest, The Low End Theory. I think I tried listening to this album. This has that song, Can I Kick It? Yes, you can. Can I kick it? Yes, you can. It's kind of got that whole jazz hip-hop thing going on that was popular back in the early 90s. It's okay in small doses, I don't know. Don't really have much of an opinion on this one. Number 44, Nas Illmatic. I don't really know much about Nas. I know that he is really lauded in the rap game as like, this innovator and blah, blah, blah. I got to move through these if I want to get to... I'm probably going to finish at number 100 and then just do like, 4 more installments, whatever, of this series, because there's no way I'm going to get through all 500 tonight. That's just way too much. Yeah, Tribe Called Quest better than Pink Floyd, Rush, Van Halen, Queen, Eagles, Metallica. Yeah, I know. This list is stupid. It's so fucking subjective. And it's just, yeah. Anyway. Prince, Sign of the Times, 1987. I'd be interested in checking this album out. I've never heard it. I don't know. Is this one where that song... Anyway, moving on. 46, Paul Simon, Graceland. This is a known classic album by Paul Simon. It's got the song on it that Peter Gabriel actually did a cover of on his Scratch My Back called Boy in the Bubble. This album sounds strange to me. I don't know. It's one of those albums where people tell you like how you're supposed to feel about it. Like this is like a classic album that you're supposed to just like and you're supposed to just automatically view as like genius. And much like the Bruce Springsteen album Born to Run, when I listened to it, I just thought that it sounded not at all my cup of tea. So, you know, I just couldn't really get into it. It's very... I think he uses like a lot of like weird instrumentation and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know why I named it Graceland. Anyway, moving on. 47, Ramones, 1976. Yeah, I mean, I'd say so. They kind of like helped start, you know, they were like the American counterpart to the punk rock movement in the UK. So, I mean, yeah, I would hope that the Ramones would make it onto this list. Again, you know, I mean, like, you guys are going to start to think that I don't like anything, but I'm not a huge fan of the Ramones. I just think their music's super simplistic, and I get that that's the point of punk rock music, and I get that punk rock was supposed to like kind of bring music back to the people, and you know the loftiness of Pink Floyd and prog rock was demolished by punk, almost like the excesses of glam rock and 80s hair metal was destroyed by grunge in the 90s. So there's always a time where being theatrical is like this really popular thing that people want a lot of, and then there's always that genre of music that comes in and just like a wrecking ball goes bam, we're gonna simplify the shit out of this and show you theatrical people just how silly you look. And I feel like that's what punk rock did to prog rock when it started coming out in the 70s. And you know, Genesis actually tried to roll with the times, and that's why they put out Abacab in 1980, because they wanted their songs to have more of a punk feel with synthesizers, and I love Abacab for that. Moving on to number 48, Bob Marley and the Wailers, Legend. You know, I'm not like a huge fan of reggae. I don't think a lot of people I know are, but yeah. Anyway, I'm trying to read the comments here. Love the Ramones. They're my high school soundtrack. No Pink Floyd yet. I know, dude. What the fuck? Where the fuck is... Who in Pink Floyd offended the people at Rolling Stone? Like, how are you going to sit there and say that all this shit is better? Anyway, Radiohead is great and all, but there is no freaking way that they are better than the bands you mentioned. Same with the Ramones and the Clash. I'm a fan, but there's no freaking way. Ramones were 3 chords and proud of it. Yeah. Yep. And good for them. They made music feel more attainable for your average person, which I think is good. Anyway, Bob Marley, you know, cool dude, I guess. Great. Good for him. Classic. He definitely deserves to be on this list. And, I mean, honestly, I think this position is a little low for Bob Marley. Especially figured the Rolling Stone magazine would put him higher than 48, but hey, guys, D'Angelo, though. Remember D'Angelo? He definitely deserves to be number 20. In at number 49, Outcast with Aquaman. This was Outcast's third album. It's made up of a word that combines the star signs of Big Boy and Andre 3000. Their music is about duality too, matching Big Boy's imperative to make the club get crunk, with Andre's determination to activate the left and right brain. Andre was a virtuoso, clipping off compound rhymes with grace, while Big Boy's more grounded flow and clear diction rooted their songs. Hits like Rosa Parks put the duo's hometown Hotlanta on the rap map. Yeah, you know, Outkast had put out some albums before 1998's Aquaman, but this was the one that kind of broke them, and then Stankonia even more so in the early 2000s, which Stankonia is a great album. But yeah, I mean, you weren't, like, back in the 90s, like, it was all about East Coast New York rap versus West Coast California rap. And you really weren't getting a lot from the South at all, you know, and rap was so big in the South, but it was just so underrepresented. And there's some clip where Outkast accepted some award at the BET Awards or something like that, and they're like, you know, we want to represent rap for the South or whatever, and they got like booed because it was all about fuck you. It's either New York or it's, you know, Los Angeles. And it's just now when you look at it, it's funny because you look at all the rappers that came out of the South with like Ludacris and, you know, what's his face, what you know about that? I know all about that. I forgot his name, but there's a lot of rappers that have come out of the South that are really big now. So, and then you got the Midwest with Nelly. Moving on to category. Why do I keep wanting to fucking stop saying category? God, idiot. Sorry, just had a little fucking moment there. Anyway, Rolling Stone loves Kanye West, Velvet Underground, U2. Yeah, you know what's funny is because Kanye is like all MAGA now and Donald Trump. We'll see how much their love continues for Kanye West. In at number 50, Jay-Z's The Blueprint. I remember when this album came out. I don't remember what the like hit songs were on this album. When Hova isn't taking shots at record executives, cops, critics, haters, biters, and his absent dad, and still sadly using the word, oh wow, okay, that's interesting. He inches towards vulnerability on Song Cry, Izzo, oh god, H to the Izzo, G to, you go fuck yourself with that song. I hated that song so much. What does Hova even mean? I never understood that. He would always talk about that in his raps, like, Hova, Hove. You talking about the HOV lane in Atlanta where you can, like, if you have a carpool buddy, you can use that lane and avoid some of the traffic? No, that's probably not what he's talking about. Okay, we hit number 50. Praise Jesus, I'm halfway done with this stream, I guess. For all you 18 people watching, you guys are fucking saints. Alright, let me get back down to 50 here. Alright, you guys ready for more disappointment? You guys ready? I'm not hearing you. Hold on. I gotta do this. I said, are you guys ready for more disappointment? Well, good. Because it's Rolling Stone magazine we're talking about here. And it is about to be a whole lot more disappointment. How much you want to bet Pink Floyd doesn't even make it into their fucking top 100? Did fucking Roger Waters piss in one of the editor's shoes? Did Dave Gilmour take a fat dump on the desk of David Frick? I don't know. But where something like that happened, because Jesus, man. I mean, I don't get it. Where's the Floyd? Alright, in at number 51, we have Chuck Berry, The Great 28. 1982. I didn't know Chuck Berry was still putting out records in 1982. In the latter half of the 50s, Chuck Berry released a string of singles that defined the sound and spirit of rock and roll. Maybelline, a fast country-ish rocker about a race between a Ford and a Cadillac, kicked it all off in 1955, and one classic hit followed another, each powered by Berry's staccato country blues guitar gunfire. What was Berry's secret? In the maestro's own words, the natural and backbone of my beat is boogie, and the muscle of my music is melodies that are simple. This collection calls the best of that magic from... Okay, so this was a compilation. I gotcha. Fair enough. I mean, he was one of the innovators of rock and roll. I mean, he was way before a lot of the guys who came out, you know, a lot before, you know, the Brits and the Americans kind of co-opted, you know. It was considered, rock and roll was considered, you know, like the early artists were black artists and white people kind of took it and made it their own kind of thing. And I mean, that's just the way it is. So, I mean, Chuck Berry definitely deserves to. All these early artists who kind of invented the genre and did things that no one else did, they deserve all the respect in the world. It is weird that it's a compilation instead of just like one of his actual albums, but I don't know. That's, hey, it's Rolling Stone we're dealing with. David Bowie, Station to Station. You know, of course I haven't listened to this album. It's a kind of a cool album cover though. If I zoom in closer on that, was he walking out of a damn like tennis shoe or something? David Bowie's so creepy. It's a shame I don't like his music more. His voice is kind of annoying to me. That I know I sounded just like him, didn't I, guys? Yeah, I know. Compilation albums do kind of seem like cheating, though. I'm reading the comments right now, people. Yeah, so this is when his Thin White Duke phase, I guess. I took a Thin White Duke one time when they gave me barium when I was getting an upper GI, but that's a different story. It was recorded in a blizzard of cocaine in Los Angeles with Bowie subsisting on green peppers and milk and almost never... Green peppers and milk? What kind of fucking diet is that? The manic mood fueled an album that was futuristic but accessible. Plastic Soul speeding toward the electronic epiphanies of his Berlin phase. I can't read, dude. I'm sorry. I'm not going to try anymore. I don't care about David Bowie that much. Jimi Hendrix, Electric Ladyland. Well, Jimi Hendrix is classic. Guess he's got Voodoo Child in this one. Great song. All Along the Watchtower. Cool. Good. Godzilla soundtrack #1. Hell yeah. Didn't they Rage Against the Machine have a song on yeah, No Shelter was on the Godzilla soundtrack. It's great song. Alright, let's move on. Number 54, James Brown, Star Time. Of course, James Brown deserves to be on this list. Another just classic, stood the test of time. Is this another compilation? So great is James Brown's impact with 71 songs and 4 CDs. Yes, this is another compilation. That is kind of cheating, man. That's like if you took like all of Pink Floyd's #1 hits and put them on one album. I mean, wouldn't that be higher up on the list? I keep getting butthurt that Pink Floyd still has not made it on here yet. Yeah, No Shelter was such a good song. Okay, moving on. Oh, hey, would you look at that? In at number fucking 55, we finally have a goddamn Pink Floyd record, and it's their most popular mainstream one at that. Gee fucking whiz. I think every album was a step towards Dark Side of the Moon, keyboardist Rick Wright said. We were learning all the time, the techniques of the recording, and our writing was getting better. As a culmination of their inner space explorations of the early 1970s, the Floyd toured the bulk of Dark Side in Britain for months prior to recording. But in the studio, the band articulated bassist Roger Waters' reveries on the madness of everyday life with melodic precision and cinematic luster. Dark Side is one of the best produced rock albums ever, and Money may be rock's only top 40 hit in 7/4 time. I'm so tired of people bringing up the fact that the song Money is in 7/4 time. And for musicians or for those non-musicians out there who may not know, 7/4 time, in your typical 4/4 time that most songs are written, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So Money was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. So it like omits a beat. It's kind of weird, but cool. But they always bring that up about Money. Like that's the most notable thing on that album. It looks like from like how I'm like reading this on the Rolling Stone website, it sounds like they had a gun pointed to their head, like they were forced to say it's one of the best produced rock albums ever, and it's like it's just so clear that like Rolling Stone has such a disdain for rock music now that they just kind of want it to go away. I don't know. I was really annoyed that's how it is right now in the state of the rock. I probably sound like such an old man, but I don't give a shit. Let me see here. Yeah, man, you know, Kanye, Beyonce, Bruce Springsteen, all better than Dark Side of the Moon. Did you guys know that? You do now, goddamn. Oh, look at this. Liz Phair, Exile in Guyville. That sounds like a winner, doesn't it? Look at her face. Okay, you know what? I'm not even going to say that. That would not be politically correct. I don't know. All I know about Liz Phair, she was part of that, was she part of the Lilith Fair thing? I don't fucking know. Wait, does she have a song on here called Fucking Run? Oh, that sounds interesting. I don't give a shit about this album. I don't know. I barely know who Liz Phair is. Whatever. If you guys know anything about it, you can leave it in the comments, but I don't know. Alright, moving on. Category 57, The Band. The Band. Don't know a lot about this band. I hate their name. It's confusing as all hell. Hey, do you like The Band? What band? The Band! Ugh. Their name is The Band! The band was 4/5 Canadian, but their second album was all American. Guitarist Robbie Robertson's songs vividly evoke the country's pioneer age. Great, I don't care, I'm bored already. Oh, wow, in at number 58, we finally have our first fucking Led Zeppelin entry, because honestly, people would have burned down Rolling Stone had they not put them in any sooner. I mean, you can see that they waited as long as they could to put these classic rock albums in. If I went and took a look at their 500 greatest albums from their 2003 list, I guarantee you these albums would be in the top 10 or top 20. It just shows you how no one just gives. I don't know. Like, rock has just been so neglected now, and it's sad. It's saddening to me. Obviously, all the first few Led Zeppelin albums are classics. What more can I say about this that hasn't already been said? Stevie Wonder, Talking Book, in at number 59. What has he got on here? You Are the Sunshine of My Life. Superstition. Superstition's a great song. Anyway. Yeah, Liz Phair. Love you guys freaking out about Liz Phair. The Band, that album is a masterpiece of an album. I'll have to check it out. Moving on, category number 60. Van Morrison, Astral Weeks. I hate every song I've heard by Van Morrison, especially Brown Eyed Girl. I would like to show Van Morrison my brown eye one day. I just don't care about Van Morrison. Sorry if you guys do. Up next, Eric B. and Rakim in at number 61, Paid in Full. Very influential early rap group. Totally agree with this spot on the list, number 61. I feel like Public Enemy should have been in around this area instead of number 10. They were way up there. Again, it all has to do with the time and place in America right now that we're in. So, I mean, you know, whatever. But, yeah, no, really influential rap group. They influenced a lot of rappers, all the way to rappers like Eminem. So, cool. Good for them. Never really listened to them, but, you know, I get it. Guns N' Roses in at number 62. Now, I know a lot of you guys, like, watching this probably like Guns N' Roses. I don't. I hate Axl Rose. I can't stand his personality. Don't really like his voice that much either. It's just very whiny to me. But, yeah, I mean, you can't make a list of 500 greatest albums and leave off Appetite for Destruction. You just can't. I mean, you got Slash, you got, you know, Axl, you got the songs like Paradise City and Welcome to the Jungle and Sweet Child of Mine. I mean, this was a cut above a lot of the stuff that came out in the 80s hair metal era. You know, Eddie Trunk, I don't know if any of you guys know who that is, but he's this rock DJ, and he hates the term hair metal because he feels like it undercuts those bands. But I'm sorry, but when all the bands sound exactly the same and they all have big hair, I mean, I think it's kind of an appropriate term. So yeah, there you go, Guns N' Roses. 63, Steely Dan, Aja. or Asia, however you want to pronounce it. My parents loved Steely Dan growing up, and we had to fucking listen to them all the time in the car, driving around in our Toyota Camry. They bought like this huge Steely Dan cassette box set, and I just fucking hated them so much. So I just can't with this band. I know a lot of really talented musicians like really respect Steely Dan, and that's great, but I just can't get into them, man. All right, moving on. Oh, Stankonia, number 64. Yeah, I mean, I actually bought this CD when it came out. Bombs Over Baghdad, great song. I can rap that song, actually. I bet you don't believe me. I'll do it right now. All right, here we go, guys. Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, yeah, Islam National Underground Thunder pounds when I stop the ground. Like a million elephants with silverback orangutans, you can't stop a train. Who wants some, don't come unprepared, I'll be there, but when I leave there, better be a household name. Weatherman telling us it gonna rain, so now we sit in a drop top soaking wet, in a silk suit trying not to sweat, hit some assaults without the net, but this will be the year we won't forget. 1 round, 9 round, anytime anything goes, but you wanna be long as you know consequences give. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, no, it was a really cool album. It was, you know, I liked it. I remember my dad read the lyrics, and there's a line where he said, "Fuck the ho-lease." I guess that's a play on hoe and police, and my dad's like, "What? Fuck the police? You ain't gonna listen to this." Anyway. All right, moving on to categories. Fucking category, dude. 61. Damn it. Steely Dan goes good with a doober. James Brown live at the Apollo. This may be your greatest live album ever recorded. From the breathless build-up of the spoken intro through the terse, sweat-soaked early hits such as Try Me and Think, into 11 minutes of the raw ballad Lost Someone at climax. Well, anyway, whatever. James Brown live. I mean, are we counting live albums in the greatest albums of all time? I guess that's okay. Whatever. I love how you guys are still going on about Liz Phair. That's hilarious to me. So yeah, anyway, whatever. 66, John Coltrane, A Love Supreme. Now, I know he was kind of like this jazzy guy. I sound like such a fucking noob at music. I know he was like a jazzy guy. You know, whatever. I don't have anything to say about John Coltrane. I know he was influential, whatever. Jay-Z, number 67, Reasonable Doubt, 1966. What is this, his first album? I think 1996. I didn't know Jay-Z existed in 1996. And why is this album better than, like, I mean, there's so many better. Jay-Z's already had like 2 or 3 albums on this list, and we haven't even gotten to like Van Halen yet. What the fuck is wrong with this fucking magazine? God, they've lost all credibility with me. Oh, dude, Genesis ain't gonna be on this list. I mean, they're gonna be in like the 300s. Like, Rolling Stone ain't got no love for prog rock. Ooh, number 68. Now, what an interesting pick. Kate Bush, Hounds of Love. I feel like Kate Bush never gets enough acclaim as she deserves. She was avant-garde her whole life, never wanted to sell out, never did sell out. Just creepy, cool, attractive. Like, I love Kate Bush. I love the concept of her. I love her lack of ever really feeling like she sold out. And, you know, if more female artists went in this direction and just tried to be different and weird instead of just trying to be pop divas or folk artists, and just try to be different, you know, be more like Bjork or Kate Bush. Just do your own thing. Don't try to follow a formula. I think there'd be a lot more representation of female artists in these kind of lists. But unfortunately, a lot of times, a lot of these artists just follow the same cookie cutter formula. So I don't know, I like Kate Bush. Oh, next we have Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill. I mean, honestly, this is a huge record. Great record, great songwriting. I like Alanis Morissette. She's got some really underrated songs. She's got this song called, I think, Baba, that's really underrated. Uninvited, to me, is an underrated song. Um, this is another artist where, you know, chicks at my karaoke gig, they sing so much of You Ought to Know. Good Lord, I'm so sick of hearing that song. But yeah, I totally agree. Classic album. Up next, finally, we have NWA Straight Outta Compton. I thought this would be higher up on the list, but I guess it's too violent for Rolling Stone's sensitive mentalities. Yeah, I mean, classic album, great album cover. They're all looking down at you, got a gun pointed at you. It's pretty brutal. I mean, even what NWA stands for, I mean, it's just kind of like, damn, they were like the real deal. But I mean, the funny thing is like not all of their songs were just like these like tough guy hardcore anthems. Like a lot of them were, you know, well, not a lot, but you know, they had a song like "Express Yourself," which kind of showed their more like positive side. But, you know, so it wasn't all just fuck the police the whole time. 71, another Bob Marley record, Exodus, don't care. 72, Neil Young, Harvest. You know, for a hippie, folky magazine like Rolling Stone, I'm surprised they put Neil all the way back here. Figured he would have been higher up on the list, but guess not. Old Man is a great song. That's on this album. So, good stuff, good stuff. Sorry, I'm taking a hit of my e-cig right now because I need some nicotine in my life to keep going through the rest of this list. My Bloody Valentine, Loveless. I've heard of the name, obviously, of the band, My Bloody Valentine. I've never listened to them. Corey, I'm guessing you're the expert on this. Should I listen to My Bloody Valentine? Let me see what they have to say. This vague, shimmering, gorgeous album reportedly cost as much as $500,000 to make and nearly bankrupted the band's UK label. It was worth it. Forget the lyrics, which are buried in the mix and incomprehensible, and focus on Kevin Shields and Belinda Butcher's guitars, which build entire noise symphonies out of tremolo effects and pitch bending. Highlights like Only Shadow and I Only Said use sampling technology to build a distorted, shifting sound that is wholly original and ecstatically beautiful. It's like being serenaded by ghosts. Generations of shoegaze bands were born in its shadow. This sounds like something I'd really like. Fucking symphonies of noise with tremolo and pitch bending and distorted sampling. That sounds right up my alley. I think that might be good. I might check that out. But I don't like shoegaze, though, as a genre. Shoegaze is pretty boring to me in general. Oh, another Kanye West album, College Dropout. This was Kanye West when he was, like, kind of, like, poppier. I really didn't care for this, for Kanye's first few albums. Even though most hipsters and Kanye West fans will say his first few albums were his best. I just didn't care for it, so, you know, whatever. Aretha Franklin, Lady Soul. You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman. You know, sure. I mean, she deserves to be on the list. Classic, 1968, whatever. Give me some variety here, people. Curtis Mayfield, Superfly. I literally have nothing to say about this. This dude was an old, R&B, funk guy. I don't know. I'm sure this was big in the 70s when it came out, but I have no connection to it. The Who, who's next? Wow. We literally went through D'Angelo, Liz Phair, Kanye a couple times, Jay-Z a couple times, and we're just now getting to The Who. Does that mean that, like, the new generation just doesn't give a fuck about, like, the classics? And that maybe the classics aren't considered classics anymore? Like, people are just over being told that, like, The Who and AC/DC and Led Zeppelin are classics, and they want to make their own classics. There's probably going to be a day where that happens. I mean, think about if Rolling Stones did a list back in 1970 of the 500 greatest albums of all time, and think of the people voting. Most of the albums that would be in the top 20 would be like Elvis and Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra, because that was like, the classics of the 70s. By the time the 70s rolled around, those were considered classics. Much like when I was, a teenager, these albums and, others were considered classics. I think we're going to hit a time where these albums are just kind of like, oh yeah, my great-grandfather listened to that album. All right. Up next, we have Elvis Presley. This is the first Elvis record that we've come in contact with so far in this list. I believe this is a compilation, if I'm looking at this. Let me read. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, this is a compilation of, like, some of his best stuff. I guess when you're, like, that old of an artist, like your material's that long ago, maybe it makes sense to do a compilation, because, you could take an Elvis record from the 50s or whatever, and there might be one or two classic songs on there, but the rest of the tracks are just garbage, but for the time it was, considered good, but it didn't really age that well. Up next, we have Frank Ocean, Blonde. Yeah, I remember hearing about Frank Ocean back in 2016, and everyone was like kind of raving about him. I don't care. I've never listened. I mean, I would check it out. I think I might have tried listening to a Frank Ocean record, and I felt like it came off as like a little too like R&B for me or something. I don't know. What they say? The songs were so nakedly intimate, it felt like a post-hip-hop Pet Sounds in the spirit of Beyonce and Elliott Smith. Okay, Rolling Stone, whatever you say. In at number 8, we have Nevermind the Bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols. Again, anytime you have a list like this, this album is, with its hideous album cover, is going to, of course, make the cut. But I mean, obviously the purpose of this album cover was to be hideous. Sex Pistols. Yeah, Johnny Rotten and, songs like Anarchy in the UK and all that. Of course, it's a classic punk rock record. Oh my god. It's just so funny to see like these classic albums that have been like beloved for like decades juxtaposed to like a fucking Beyonce record from 2013. Like, come on now. Like, what the fuck, dude? Beyonce and Jay-Z are not like the saviors of music. Like, they got a few good songs. Like, who did they have to pay off to be seen as these like musical gods that inform, I don't know, like pop culture? Whatever, don't care, moving on. Number 82, Sly and the Family Stone, There's a Riot Going On. This highly anticipated studio follow-up to Sly and Family Stone's 1969 Blast of Hope, Stand, was the grim exact opposite. Implosive, numbing, darkly self-referential. Sly Stone's voices exhausted grumble. The funk and family affair running away, and especially the closing downward spiral, Thank You for Talking to Me Africa, is spare and bleak, fiercely compelling in its anguish over the unfulfilled promises of civil rights and hippie counterculture. It's Muzak with its finger on the trigger, wrote critic Greil Marcus in the Mystery Train. Take that as a recommendation. Okay. Whatever you say there, buddy. 83, Dusty Springfield, Dusty in Memphis. I've heard of Dusty Springfield. He's kind of an old-timer guy. What do you do? Son of a preacher man? Whatever. Don't care. Getting bored of this. AC/DC, Back in Black. Finally, we got some more rock representation here. In the middle of album rehearsals, singer Bon Scott went on a drinking spree. He choked on his own vomit and was found dead in the back seat of a car. After 2 days of mourning, guitarist Malcolm Young thought, well, fuck this, I'm not going to sit around moping all fucking year. He called his brother Angus Young, and they went back to work with replacement vocalist Brian Johnson. The resulting album has the relentless logic of a sledgehammer. Back in Black remains the purest distillation of hard rock. Hell's Bells, You Shook Me All Night Long, and the title track have all become enduring anthems of strutting blues bass guitar. I am tired of almost all AC/DC songs that have been played on the radio, so please give me some recommendations of some AC/DC deep cuts, because I'm really sick of the ones that they play to death all the time. John Lennon in at number 85 with Plastic Ono Band. I think this was this his first? I think this was his first solo album, wasn't it? I could be wrong. Working Class Hero. That's a great song, actually. I will say Working Class Hero by John Lennon's really good. Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day covered it. Yeah, I feel like he did a good job. Kind of a pretty album cover. Nice little oak tree man. Alright, let's see. Up next, oh my god, I forgot all about the Doors. Jesus, we're just now getting a Doors entry in at number 87. That just shows you how much the younger generation is just taking a fat dump on the sacred cows of what we, for the longest time, had deemed classic albums not to be moved from the top 20. But here we now find the Doors being shat upon by being dumped all the way down to number 86. Got Break On Through to the Other Side, Light My Fire. Yep, good stuff. Here it is, Miles Davis's Bitches Brew. This comes up on a lot of people's greatest albums of all time list. So I don't know. It was apparently his idea to connect his music to his audience of Jimi Hendrix and Sly Stone. The result was this double album of jazz rock fusion cut in 3 days of on-the-spot improvisations with electric orchestra that included 3 keyboardists, 3 drummers, 2 bassists, saxophonist Wayne Shorter, and guitarist John McLaughlin. The music was full of visceral thrills and the brooding darkness Davis brought to everything he touched. I'll have to check out Bitches Brew because I keep hearing people talk about this album. So we'll see. 88, David Bowie, Hunky Dory. This is like, what, the 3rd David Bowie album so far on this list? Still no Rush, still no Genesis, but that's not a fucking surprise at all. Rolling Stones dislikes rock, but they fucking hate prog rock. David Bowie, then 24, arrived at the Hunky Dory cover shoot with a book of photographs of Marlene Dietrich, a perfect metaphor for his album's visionary blend of gay camp, flashy rock guitar, and saloon piano balladry. Bowie marked the polar ends of his artistic ambitions with tribute songs to Bob Dylan and Andy Warhol. In Oh, You Pretty Things, Quicksand and Changes, he invented and perfected a new style of rock and roll glamour. On Life on Mars, he sings to all the weirdos like himself who feel like aliens on Earth. Soon an entire army of kids would attempt to remake themselves in his spangled image, proving his point. In number 9, we got Erykah Badu, Baduizm. Erykah Badu is really very popular in the black community. I used to DJ some rooms that were predominantly black, and Erykah Badu came up a lot for karaoke. And she's, you know, very spiritually minded and talked about, you know, she would touch upon what Farrakhan, whatever thing he talked about or whatever. But yeah, I dig Erykah Badu. She's a lot deeper. A deep thinker than a lot of artists. You know, not my style of music, but I dig what she does. I dig the concept of it. Whatever. All right, let's see. In at number 90, Neil Young, After the Gold Rush. Yeah, I feel like this was a big one for him. I don't really know much about this album, but I do remember hearing about it. 91, Bruce Springsteen, Darkness on the Edge of Town. Yeah, I got nothing to say about this album. Tool will be on this list eventually, but probably not until like at least the 200s or 300s. Jimi Hendrix Experience, Axis Bold as Love. You know, they're just getting in all the Oh, okay, this is interesting. 93, we got Missy, Misdemeanor Elements, Elliott, Super Duper Fly. Missy Elliott's always been pretty innovative. I mean, even to this day, with her music videos and her songs, I mean, I feel like a lot of times she doesn't really get the credit that she deserves with how innovative she is. In fact, you know, you're going to put some of these artists so high up on this list, but then, like, put Missy all the way down 93. I just don't understand the logic of this list. The Stooges, Fun House. I know this is a very influential band with Iggy Pop and all that. I was never huge into the Stooges or Iggy Pop, so, you know, whatever. Oh my god, Drake, really? Fuck Drake, dude. I'm so sick of Drake and the... Drake is an industry, like, completely fake, like, actor. It's like he was an actor named Aubrey Drake Graham. He was on a Canadian teen drama called Degrassi. A record label thought they could work with him and develop him into this rap pop star, which he became. And he gets all the credit for, like, doing everything, but, like, he's completely the product of a record industry who made him. He doesn't even, like, write most of his shit, but that's most rappers. That's not just Drake. Anyway. Oh, finally! Fuck! An album I actually like. 90 and in at 96, we have R.E.M. Automatic for the People. I love this album. Let's see what they have to say about it. It doesn't sound a whole lot like us, warned guitarist Peter Buck, but by stripping back their sound to spare largely acoustic essence, the college rock kings made the most powerful album of their career, an argument for sweetness and softness in an increasingly hard world. The bold sonic change-up laid bare Michael Stipe's keening baritone and expansive vocal melodies, accentuated in several songs by Led Zeppelin member John Paul Jones' gorgeous string arrangements. The album was beautiful. It was quiet, Stipe said. It flew in the face of everything that was going down musically at the time. At a time when grunge angst ruled, songs like Everybody Hurts and the lovely Find the River offered solace. No, this is a timeless album. It's fantastic. I love this album. I don't know. It's great. Great album. That's all I have to say about it. Oh my god! Finally! An album worthy of my attention! Well, Automatic for the People is great too. Master of Puppets. This album is Metallica's arguably best album. Master of Puppets being arguably their best song. I mean, what do I have to say about this that hasn't already been said? This is just a fucking classic thrash album. Even if you're not a huge fan of the genre, I highly recommend you give this a listen. So, yeah. I mean, just great album. Master of Puppets, one of just the best songs of all time. Lucinda Williams, Car Wheels on a Gravel Road, released in 98. What is this? It took 3 torturous years to finish, but it was worth it. There are no bad songs in this alt-country masterwork. The title track is one of Williams' best, over guitars that owe more to the Stones than they do to the Opry. She tells a story about the rootlessness of American life. Williams, who was born in Louisiana, describes the South in a loving, fearful tone, and mourns pals who fall prey to hard liquor, drugs, or dreams of stardom. With production help from Roy Bittan of the E Street Band and a lot of twangy power chords, Williams rocks hard enough to give these troubled songs both dignity and a feeling of release. Never heard of it. I've heard of her. This album cover literally looks like where I grew up, dude. Like a shitty dirt road, a barren field, and just like a trailer with Christmas lights. Well, it's not really a trailer, but it's a small little shit house with Christmas lights still on it. Kind of like brings a weird feeling of familiarity. Taylor Swift, Red. Whatever, man. This is another person. I mean, actually, she does write a lot of her own songs, so I do have to give her that. So yeah, this is kind of like when she broke away from country, I guess. You know, but These are all pop songs though to me, man. Like these are all like here today, gone tomorrow. Like, are you really gonna sit here and say that someone's gonna put on this record 20 years from now and be like, oh man, you gotta listen to, we are never ever getting back together, or I knew you were trouble when you walked in. Like, they're not classics. They're good for the time, but I don't know, dude. That's just fucking bullshit. All right, this is the last one I'm gonna do, and then we're just gonna call it a day. The band, music from Big Pink. I don't know anything about the band. Whatever. Cool. It's an album cover that my 3-year-old son drew. Apparently. I don't have a son. That's what makes it even creepier. Alright. Well, damn. That was a slog. That took a long-ass time, didn't it? I'm still here, guys. Hi. Yeah, that took forever. I'm tired, so I'm going to end this video. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I will do part 2 of this at some other point. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed watching. Remember, subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed. And, till next time, if you have any recommendations for anything you want me to cover, make sure you leave that somewhere in the comment section or something. Again,